everything falls into place.
Everything falls into place. Everything is a picture. This is a picture now that God has drawn. This is the first picture that God has drawn of His Son. What a beautiful picture. Amazing, anything. It's amazing. And that's what we do all the way around this tabernacle. Every time we come to something, we find out how many of those articles, 15 articles, were there. And what is God trying to tell me in this, let's travel on here a minute. Let me back up. Back up, because I want you to notice, next is the gate. If we follow that fence all the way around, that fence doesn't offer us any way in, does it? It just tells us really what it's setting up is the requirements to get in. It tells us that we must be holy in order to get in. How am I going to get holy? It's here at the fence. At the gate. When Jesus says, I am the way, He's talking about the gate. He says, I am the gate to the sheepfold. Now, if you look at this, this is nothing more than a sheepfold. A sheepfold had one entrance where the sheep went. And inside of that sheepfold, the shepherd laid across the door. So that at night, if anything tried to get into the sheep, they had to come across the shepherd, right? And so this is a picture of a sheepfold. And Christ is that, He says, I am the door to the sheep. This is a picture of that, right here. He said, I am the way. Here is the picture of the way. The way to God is here. So this gate, we know all, right now, is going to be a picture of Jesus Christ, right? And it's going to show Him as the way to God. Now, what God has done here in showing us this picture, He has added 4 things to the fence. He's added 4 colors. 3 colors, really. White was already there. He's added 3 other colors now to this gate. Now, that changes everything about this fence. Those 4 colors now tell us more about this fence. In other words, now we have a way in. Just by adding 3 colors to the fence, God has given us a way to get to God. Now, I want us to look at those 4 colors this morning real quickly. There's a whole lesson on the gate, but there are 4 colors here. Those 4 colors are always given in the same order. Blue, purple, scarlet, white. They're always given in that order. If you look at the rainbow, there are colors in the rainbow, right? What's the nearest color to earth in the rainbow? In fact, God gave us the rainbow to interpret these colors that He put here. So what's the color nearest to the earth? If you see the arc of the rainbow, the color that's on the bottom.
Violet? Is it the violet?
It's the reds.
The red.
Yeah,
Roy G.
starts
Biv
with the
is
reds,
starts
doesn't it?
with the red, yeah.
And it goes on up to the blues and then the violets, right?
Mm-hmm.
The blues and the violets are up on top. The reds and the scarlets are down on the bottom. So it's the reds that are on the bottom. The blues are on the top. So this thing starts with the blues and goes, it starts with the blue, goes to the, which is the top color, right? Starts with God. It goes, scarlet would be on the bottom. And then the purple is in the middle. The purples fall in the middle.
Have you told us what the purple is?
I haven't yet. So we have 3 colors. We have blue, purple, and scarlet. Blue is the heavenly color. When God uses blue, He's talking about the heavens. So we don't, Christ in His heavenly work, maybe. But we don't have to guess what that means. We just have to, if you don't know what blue means, go out and look up. The sky's blue. He painted it blue because that's the heavenly color. The scarlet is next, blue, purple. Purple now is the color of what? The king, right? Royalty. The king. Scarlet is the color of sacrifice. So He added 3 colors to this gate, to this fence. Now we have 7 objects here in this gate. 7 out of 15 total objects that the tabernacle is made from. We have 7 of them in this gate. Now God's got a lot to say here at the gate, doesn't he? Because he's got to explain why he put 7 articles here in that gate. He's got a big story to tell, because the biggest thing that we need to know is the way. We've got to know the way. And so God has put it here. The way to God, the way to his righteousness, the way to holiness is through Jesus Christ, the only way. Now you hear people talk today about there's a lot of ways to God. God says there's only one way, and that's through his Son, Jesus Christ. So Jesus says, I am the way. Now those 4 colors, let's think about them just a minute. What gospel presents Jesus as king? Matthew, he gives his genealogy all the way back to David. He also is the one that tells about the kings coming, saw the star of a king and came to see that king, right? And so he is giving us the story of a king. That's the gospel. So we see here in this gate the gospel of Matthew. Which gospel shows Jesus as a sacrifice or scarlet? Mark. You remember Mark gives the genealogy of Jesus. Does not give the genealogy of Jesus, because a servant has no need for a genealogy. Mark 10:25 is the key verse to Mark, because he has come to seek and to save that which is lost. So Mark is the gospel of sacrifice. The one that came to sacrifice himself in order that we might be saved. And then we have, that's blue, purple. Well, I left out blue. Which one is blue? Which one speaks of his deity? John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Speaks of his deity. And then we have blue, purple, scarlet, and then white. Which one speaks of his Son of Man as being the righteousness, as being the righteous one that came? In other words, it was Luke that showed us our high priest, that he is the only one that can qualify to be our high priest because he was sinless. He is that perfect one. He is standing before Pilate, and even Pilate says, I can find no fault in this man. He is the one that is perfect, the perfect man, and unless he is perfect, he cannot be our substitute, right? He has to be perfect, and he came and he lived that perfect life, that righteous life that he came and lived in order that he might die and give his life for us. He is, in Luke, he is called the Son of Man. In John, he's called the Son of God. And so we see these two. I'm not saying that he's not called both in each, but this is what's stressed in those 2 Gospels, as Christ being the Son of Man. You remember that Luke gives his genealogy all the way back to Mary as the seed of a woman. Mary's genealogy is followed as being that seed that's come forth from that woman. And so he is Son of Man that has come. He is that seed that is to have his heel bruised, right? And so it follows him, his genealogy. That's an interesting genealogy. I got a whole lesson on that. That's a beautiful story of the seed. But so, and we see in the gate now these 4 colors that show us the 4 Gospels. And so this gate, look how wide it is. It's 20 cubits wide. Wide. And it's wide in the fact that it's invitation. It's narrow in its entrance. In other words, there's only one way. And so it's narrow in that sense, right? Jesus talked about how narrow the gate was that leads to where he is. It's narrow because there's only one way in. But it's wide in its invitation. In other words, all can come. It's open to all. Whosoever will. I got a t-shirt that says, I'm a whosoever will. I'm a whosoever. You know, I don't wear a guy. I think Barbara got it at the garage sale. I am a whosoever, because this gate is open to all. The invitation that's put out in the gospel is an invitation to the world. And so we have here, it's just like Jesus standing outside with his arms held out, saying, come for righteousness. Come. And the gospel is being preached here at the gate. Where is it bringing us to? Where is the gate carrying us? To the altar. This is the bronze altar. You'll notice the fire that's burning on that altar. This is an interesting thing here of the fire. That fire came from God, by the way. On the first day that they set this brazen altar up, there was a fire that came from heaven, came from God, and consumed that sacrifice on that altar. You remember reading that. I know you did, because you've already read through that. That it came and consumed that first offering. They had to keep that fire going. It could never go out. When they traveled, when they picked it up to travel through the wilderness, they had to put that fire in censers in order to keep that fire going. That fire could never go out. That was the fire from God, because it was God's hand that came down upon Jesus that day on the cross. People say that men put Christ there, but they didn't. God put Christ there. And it was his hand that came down on God. You remember when God told Abraham to go up to Mount Moriah and offer his son Isaac there. And his hand was up to come down, but there was a ram caught in the bushes to stop his hand, right? But that day on Calvary, many years later, there was nothing to stop God's hand. And we talk about what Christ went through in that garden that night as he came to the Father, knowing what he was going to have to suffer the next day. And he had sweats of blood as he thought about what he was going to have to go through the next day, because he was going to have to go through the punishment of God. When we talk about that, we don't talk about God, who had to do this. Now, if you think Jesus was going through agony, what about the Father? Because which had you rather be? Had you rather be on the altar or the one to kill your son? Think of his agony that day.